Okay, so I've got my harvesty, Mediterranean-y, veggie-filled bowl here. It's smelling and looking so good. I'm really excited to try it. I'm gonna try a Brussels sprout first, if I can get it. I mean, took what, like 10 minutes to cook? They're nice and cooked on the outside and still a little chewy, which I kind of like. You can cook them longer or shorter depending on how crunchy you want them to be. Welcome to Not Following the Recipe. My name is Rebecca. I am the dietitian and person behind the scenes at Nourish Nutrition Blog, where I share recipes, cooking tips, I don't know, whatever you need to know about cooking for one, and enjoying it and making it easier. Part of my intention with this Not Following the Recipe series is to show ways and ideas of cooking for one, which requires a little bit of like figuring things out, substitutions, a lot of substitutions, and to kind of make it seem easier, as it is a little bit easier than we tend to think substitutions are. It can be really overwhelming, but vegetables in particular, which is what I'm making today, can be doctored up any which way. And so I want to show I'm not doing multiple here today. I'm going to show a different way of preparing some asparagus and Brussels sprouts that was originally roasted. Instead, I'm going to be showing you how to cook it in a pan, make it really simple to then add to like a warm salad, warm grain salad that I'm going to grab some things from the freezer and the fridge to use up, because I've had them in my fridge almost a little bit too long, so I want to use them up ASAP. And that's gonna be my lunch today. So join me as we figure out how to make things taste good, make it easy, use what I've got, get a little bit of creativity in there, and mess up along the way, because that's how it goes. Cooking is not this perfect cooking show, cooking thing. It's not at all. It's not at all. So I want to show kind of the real side of it, and also, as you can tell, this is like not super planned, but that's what I want it to be. I want it to be real. I want to kind of walk through and talk through some of the things that are going on in my head as I'm adapting and planning, because we see recipes and we make the recipes and there's no room for like substitutions or problem solving on the fly. And honestly, that's what cooking is problem solving on the fly and making things work when it starts to go wrong, making the most out of whatever you've got. So I think that's all the information I want to share. I'm sure more things will come up, but yeah, let's get started. So cooking asparagus and Brussels sprouts. The first step is to grab it out of the fridge, and I'm going to show you kind of how I prepare it by slicing it and getting rid of all the stuff that you probably don't want to eat. Let's see. Asparagus here. I'm gonna make enough for like one serving, I think, ish. We'll see how much it ends up being. I forgot I haven't rinsed this off yet. Let me do that first. Okay, so I've got my asparagus. It's starting to look like it's going, so I'm gonna do all of it because it needs to be cooked sooner than later. Just deal with asparagus pea for a bit. So what I'm doing here first is I've got a couple pieces that have more of the white part on the bottom. This stuff is really fibrous and not great to eat, like at all. So I'm gonna push that down and then kind of line up with the rest of it and just slice through and get rid of all these ends. Throw it in my compost bin, and you know, this part you can cut it however you want. I'm kind of a smaller pieces cooker eater. I'd rather have smaller pieces that I don't have to like find a way to figure out how to fit in my mouth. Make that easier. I've got some pieces that are getting a little bit brown on the edges, don't look that appetizing. Okay. All right, set this aside if I can. I'm not gonna get anything else out, get any more dishes dirty. Now I'm gonna grab my Brussels sprouts. So as you can see, I have this bag that I'm obsessed with. It's called a swag bag. It's not like sponsored or anything, but it keeps food so fresh, so much longer, produce, which is great when you're cooking for one. You just get it wet and then store whatever you want in it, and you can store different things in it too, so that makes it easier to remember what you've got. So got my Brussels sprouts. They're not looking the absolute best, but the insides I think are gonna look better. Be great to eat still. I need to rinse them off before I start slicing them. Okay, the first steps of this recipe is exactly the same as the one on Nourish Nutrition blog. You're going to, in preparation for the recipe, I'm just slicing all the ends off. I kind of like the process of doing one thing at a time. So slice off all the ends and then remove the leaves, outside leaves, and then slice them. It doesn't matter, do what works for you. This is not, there's no rhyme or reason behind it, it just kind of makes sense for me. So next I'm going to be removing the outside layers. Since some of these are a little bit older, so like, I think I've had them for a couple weeks and they were already not looking the best at the store, but they're fine on the inside. So I'm removing these outside layers and then I cut off a piece of this Brussels sprout that was kind of injured, I guess. So here we go, removing the layers. Some of the layers are gonna be okay to eat, and so I wanna save these because I really like the crispy Brussels sprout pieces in whatever I'm making. Again, removing these outside leaves, those are ones that get kind of bitter, and so you wanna remove these so it tastes better, and also they can be a little bit dirtier, and just wanna, it's kind of like peeling something. Sometimes you want to peel it so you don't have those outside parts. I kind of don't like peeling stuff a lot because it's more effort and there's a lot of vitamins and nutrients in the peels, but I would imagine in Brussels sprouts it's pretty same throughout since they're all the same leaves. These are looking great actually. See, the outsides don't look so fantastic, but once you take off these couple outer leaves, they look just as good as the real nice ones. Okay, so I'll come back to these and kind of sort through the ones that I'd want to cook. There's not a ton of them because these aren't looking that great, but that's fine. So I'm just gonna set these aside. Again, they get super crispy and really nice. I really enjoy eating those, so I'm gonna cook them. So I'm just slicing these in half. Because it's easy. You can always slice them in different sizes, maybe smaller if you want them to cook a little bit faster, or if you want more browned parts on your Brussels sprouts. I'm gonna cut, some of them are a little bit big, so I'm gonna cut them down. This one I might as well, like quarters, because it's quite large. And I don't know if that's like a little bug. That's fine, okay. Yeah, okay, so again, removing those layers is a great way to reduce food waste because you're not throwing them all away, because they're and look at these are beautiful. They did not look that way at all when I started with them. Okay, this is kind of like maybe a big one serving. I don't know, I'm kind of in a veggie mode right now. I haven't had much beef in the past little bit, so I'm really liking them right now. So let's take these to the stove. So while I'm waiting for my pan to heat up, I want to share a little bit about this recipe. So like I mentioned, the original recipe on Nourish Nutrition blog is really simple. It's roasted, those two ingredients, they're roasted with olive oil, salt and pepper, and garlic powder, I think. Yes, garlic powder, I know my own recipe. So just like really simple, you can add additional ingredients to that if you want to. This recipe, I'm cooking on the stove because it takes less time. I can kind of keep an eye on it a little bit easier. I'm not using my oven right now, so I might as well just use this that heats up more quickly. The whole process is just faster. You can cook it in an air fryer as well. I would say if you're cooking it in the air fryer, I found when I was testing this that the little, I don't know, are they florets or whatever on the top of the asparagus do get browned or like dried out especially, and really browned when you're cooking them. And that's why I like the stove, because I can add some oil to it, keep an eye on it, and it's not gonna dry out like when you're cooking in the air fryer. So this is my preferred method, but all of those options work well for you depending on what you've got or what you want. It doesn't matter. There's lots of ways to prepare food. Just use what works for you. So that aside, it's getting warm. Let's dive into this, okay? So I've got my vegetables. I can cook them at the same rate, which is great. I've got I'm gonna spray this well, so I've got a nice even coating, so it's not gonna stick as much. I mean, these aren't really things to stick, so that's fine. But I kind of like to use that spray. So here we go. I'm cooking it all together. The asparagus might get a little softer than the Brussels sprouts, but I like those texture changes. It's kind of nice to have some different textures in here. As you can see, I've got my leaves too. I love how crispy those get. The Brussels sprouts will not get crispy like that, so this is great. As I mentioned, I'm making a kind of a grain bowl with these vegetables and the butternut squash. So I had some refrigerated dressing, so I got that out because the oil needs to warm up, melt a little bit. So I added all the vegetables to the pan already, adding my oil in. You hear that nice, so there is some water in here, which is making it thick. I should have let them cook a little bit longer before adding the oil. You live and you learn. But I'm gonna, see this? Look, we've already got some really nice browning. This is like so fast. Look at this. So I'm gonna hurry and add my salt and pepper, and I'm gonna add a little bit of garlic powder. Could add fresh garlic. If I had a little more desire to mince that, I would. I don't really care for that right now. Add a little salt and pepper. Brown, this is what it's really like in the kitchen. Throwing things around, seeing what works. Oh, these are looking so nice. Got it over kind of, again, this is cast iron, so it's over lower heat than you would in like a non-stick or other pan, but it's holding on to the heat really well. These are getting really nice and browned on the edges. I'm just gonna watch the parts that already are brown because I don't want them to get burnt. Butternut squash kind of almost got burnt. Okay, the color is so beautiful. See, I put that much effort into it. I just can't stop. I gotta leave this alone. So I'm gonna turn the heat off on this. I think this, I want it a little bit more cooked, and I'm just gonna leave it in the pan. Again, cast iron holds on to the heat really well, so it's gonna cook longer than when the heat is on. While these are finishing cooking up, I'm gonna prepare the rest of my lunch so then I can eat it and enjoy it. That's kind of a lot of vegetables. I don't know, we'll see how hungry I am. Not much energy in these, a lot of fiber though, so it's gonna kind of fill you up and then be hungry a little bit later. It's kind of how this. I mentioned my next step here is to get everything else ready for my lunch. I've got the kind of mashed-ish butternut squash. I'm actually gonna add this back to the pan to warm it up a little bit. It's been a little bit since it was heated that way. It's gonna be nice and warm when I eat it, which is nice. I like warm food. And I'm gonna grab the other ingredients, so I'll kind of talk through what I'm adding to this. So I'm going to keep this bowl extremely simple. We've got lots of different textures and flavors here. So I have some leftover frozen barley and chickpeas that I froze because I wasn't able to eat it fast enough. This is leftover from a Mediterranean bowl, and I will link the recipe link, or I will add the recipe link in the description below so you can see it. Maybe also up here. I don't know, let's see if I can figure that out. Anyways, I really like freezing grains because they're super easy, and then it's quick. I'm just gonna microwave this quickly. Also have, I don't know, like a good, maybe a couple tablespoons of some feta cheese that's left over, again from that same Mediterranean bowl. I'm kind of making that Mediterranean bowl, but just adapting it. So this is like 3 recipes in one to show how many substitutions can be made. I mean, the options are literally endless. And then, as I mentioned, I've got this leftover dressing. It's red wine vinegar, some oregano, dried oregano, olive oil, lemon juice. I don't remember what else. Again, recipe in the Mediterranean bowl recipe that will be linked below on my website, maybe up here, I don't know, we'll see. And let's see, and I want sunflower seeds to add some crunch. So I thought I had sunflower seeds. I think I do. They're somewhere. I don't know where they are, somewhere, but I've got pumpkin seeds. So I'll just add these just for a nice little crunch and heat this up and get this bowl going. Okay, so maybe you can hear that I'm heating up the grains in the microwave. I could, if I wanted to, I wouldn't want to, but I could add the grains to here to heat up, but I don't want to do that because they've been frozen, and as we saw with the butternut squash, see the recipe, the video linked, I don't know, somewhere on the side, that it gets mushy, and it's gonna affect the nice, really beautiful texture of all of these vegetables. I don't want to do that. I want to keep them nice and crispy. So let's see how they've come out. Heated them up for about a minute. I'm gonna do it, as you can tell, I cracked the end open so the steam could escape in the microwave. I'm gonna cook them a tiny bit longer so they're warm up. Got some frozen pieces. I also have some lemon that I'm probably gonna add to it as well. And I'm gonna heat up the dressing because you can tell like the oil hasn't really melted enough. I don't know how much of the dressing I want. I probably want all of it, but I'm gonna do that instead of add it to here so then it can be on everything. So I've got a serving bowl here ready. I'm gonna pour my grains in here. It's a tiny bit frozen still. The heat from the vegetable should warm it up. I don't know how much of this I want. Thought this would take longer, so I'm not quite hungry enough to eat, but here we go, that's fine. Okay, so I'm gonna add in the kind of mashed now butternut squash that I made. Highly recommend roasting it in the oven if you want them to be in the pieces, and also finding bigger pieces. That's another video, check it out, it's posted somewhere. See the steam coming up, so this will heat up the grains. Now I've got these beautiful asparagus and Brussels sprouts. Really nicely browned. These cook great on the stove or in the oven, unlike the butternut squash. You live and you learn. So many ways to enjoy them. Again, make extra of these vegetables if you want to enjoy them in different dishes. So now I've got some of the feta cheese that I've been holding on to for a while. Giving it a sniff. It smells good. It smells really good. It's been a couple weeks. It's maybe been longer. I don't know. It's been a while. But I'm going to use it all up because I want to... Am I going to use it all up? Sometimes part of it is figuring out the right amount, because this adds some nice saltiness and a lot of flavor. That looks good. Okay, so I'll get one more out of it, which is fine. I'm gonna sprinkle some of the not sunflower, pumpkin seeds on. I mean, it's fall. Maybe the next time I open my cabinet, I'll find the sunflower seeds. My hands are a little bit wet, so I'll just add all of them. And then finally, I heated up the dressing, less than 10 seconds. I'm gonna dress it, add more if I want to. So easy, delicious. So I've got my harvesty, Mediterranean-y, veggie-filled bowl here. It's smelling and looking so good. I'm really excited to try it. I'm gonna try a Brussels sprout first, if I can get it. I mean, took what, like 10 minutes to cook? They're nice and cooked on the outside and still a little chewy, which I kind of like. You can cook them longer or shorter depending on how crunchy you want them to be. But with this dressing, adds so much flavor and is so good. So this original salad had pretty different ingredients. So it's like a totally different salad, but with kind of the basic things that you would have and not know what to use up. So super easy, great way to use up what you've got, save money, reduce food waste, eat deliciously. There's so many textures in here, and this dressing, the red wine vinegar is so tangy and delicious and messy. I can add, I love acid, so I'm gonna add a little bit more lemon juice to this. Not a seed. And lost it. Okay, well that'll be a fun surprise to find. Anyways, this salad is so easy, so delicious, packed with lots of flavors and textures, so much fiber. Easy to eat with your hands too, it's great. We'll stop talking. Other than, let me know what you think. Is this something that you would enjoy? I'm curious what you would really look forward to enjoying these Brussels sprouts and asparagus with. A salad like this, a side dish for something, let me know. I want to hear, and maybe it'll help give ideas for future videos. So if you like this, if this is helpful, if it feels connecting because it's not so perfect, hit subscribe. Let me know what you think. I'm so interested and curious to see what you think so I can make this better, more helpful. Got so many thoughts, not able to share all of them. Recipes below for these individual components. We're looking at 3 different recipes here together. All of them adapted and make something completely different and absolutely delicious. So here we go.